Sisterhooves Social was the first MLP episode I watched that had Rarity as part of the main focus, and it also happens to show her overcoming one of her greatest weaknesses. Before this point, we hadn't been given much focus on the relationship between Rarity and Sweetie Belle. But even with just a couple of minutes of screen time during Stairmaster, we get a pretty good sense of what Rarity thinks of Sweetie Belle, and vice versa. I have to wonder about whether the writers had Sisterhooves Social in mind when they were putting in this short scene during Season 1. I have to say, it makes for a good setup. As the episode begins, we see Sweetie Belle attempting to make breakfast for Rarity. Rarity already looks as though she is ready to throw a fit when we get to see their parents. It is rather surprising to see just how different Rarity is from the rest of her family. The way this scene plays out seems to suggest that Rarity has been doing everything in her power to respectfully distance herself from the rest of her family. It would be interesting to see just how Rarity had managed to become the pony she is today, given the fact that her parents don't seem to have any fashion sense themselves. And even before their parents are out the door, we get the sense that Rarity is not looking forward to spending so much time with her sister. At least with Sweetie Belle, we can see that she really looks up to Rarity and wants to be just like her. She even needs just as many suitcases in order to travel. But Rarity seems to want to do things a very certain way. I can imagine that when she finally did get out on her own, she was overjoyed at the fact that there wasn't anyone else around to keep her from having everything exactly how she wanted it. Except now she has to deal with having a child around the house as well. But it is easy to see that Sweetie Belle wants to be good and is looking for any opportunities she can find to impress her sister. She tries to do her best in pleasing Rarity, but ends up making some very understandable mistakes along the way. And through each mistake, we can see that Rarity is doing her utmost to keep her temper in check. It's easy to see that Rarity has little patience when it comes to Sweetie Belle, and that really comes from experience. We saw the mess that came from Sweetie Belle during Stairmaster. And even in the Showstoppers, we see that Sweetie Belle was willing to take fabric from Rarity without even asking permission. Given their past history, it is certainly understandable and even relatable that Rarity tries not to have her sister doing things around the house. I really like how their relationship is displayed here because everything feels so natural, from their interactions to their disappointments and even their bickering. And all the while, we start to feel for Sweetie Belle's predicament. When Sweetie Belle starts spending time with Applejack and Applebloom, she sees a vastly different relationship. As I've mentioned in several of my previous videos, the Apple sisters have a very close bond, and it really shows during this episode. And it doesn't take long for Sweetie Belle to notice how much more empathetic Applejack is when compared to Rarity. And at the same time, Rarity starts to notice that she may have overreacted to her sister's efforts, even to the point of heartbreak when she sees Sweetie Belle's picture. She realizes that she's made a grave mistake and declares,
"No, I must get her back. I must! Celestia is my witness. I shall never be sisterless again."
I love all the little references they throw in here. This is yet another example of a parody that kids just wouldn't pick up on. Rarity goes off to find Sweetie Belle and begs her forgiveness, but hasn't quite yet realized what Sweetie Belle needs from her. It's apparent that Rarity wants to spend time with her sister and even starts suggesting some of her favorite activities. But Sweetie Belle isn't interested in learning how to make a quiche. It isn't until after Sweetie Belle and Applebloom leave that Rarity begins to learn how she has been failing. Applejack shows a lot of wisdom in her words here.
Oh, Rarity. Once again, you're thinking about yourself. Being sisters is a give and take. You've been doing a whole lot of taking, but you haven't been doing a whole lot of giving. But of course I give. I give lessons, reasonable demands, but you never give in.
Yet another reason why I have so much respect for Applejack. The next day, Rarity takes it upon herself to do whatever it takes to spend time with her sister, even to the point of doing things that we never expected to see Rarity doing. Getting drenched in mud, running in a race, completing all kinds of physical challenges, all for the sake of Sweetie Belle. It is a very touching scene because we know that Rarity had to do her utmost to make it happen. This is one of the moments that shows us why Rarity is the element of generosity. And Rarity actually takes this lesson to heart. We can see this during Sleepless in Ponyville when Sweetie Belle asks Rarity to take her camping. A lot of this episode seems pretty straightforward, and I'd say even predictable. And while this episode certainly does have its funny bits, I wouldn't say that the comedy really stands out. But it still remains one of my personal favorites, particularly when it comes to Rarity and Applejack. If I had to pick one episode that shows real growth to Rarity's character, to show that she isn't quite as shallow as she seems at first glance, this would be the episode that comes to mind. We get to see her being insensitive to the needs of her sister, but we also see how far Rarity has to go in order to overcome that flaw. And even with Applejack, we get to see just how much wisdom and strength she has to her character, particularly in her family relationships. I know that Applejack wasn't meant to be the main focus here, but I think that this episode has some of her best moments in the series. Sweetie Belle also has a number of adorable moments, and I still enjoy hearing her voice squeaking every now and again. But what really tops off this episode for me is the lesson they teach here. I may not relate to Rarity as well as other characters, but I do enjoy seeing her exceed my expectations. She teaches us how important it is to put aside your own desires when your family needs you. There will be times when our work and our nature may draw us away from our family, but our work won't last as long as our family relationships. And we can find the strength to put aside our own nature if we choose to make it important enough. But now I would like to hear from each of you. Does Rarity and Sweetie Belle's situation relate to any of your family experiences? Do you think this episode shows the most growth to Rarity's character? Or does the predictable storyline leave this episode feeling a little flat? I would like to hear your thoughts about Sisterhooves Social, and let us hope to see more episodes revolving around family relationships in the future. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.